Early bird. Okay. Oh my God, it's still going. Oh, shut up. Sun and Mood Reads. Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Sun, this is Sun and Mood Reads. Today I would like to share with you my summer TBR. So this includes December, January and February. I did consider doing December, January and February TBR separately, but I know what I'm going to be like during summer. I'm going to want to read whatever the hell I want depending on whatever mood that I am in. And so if I'm only restricted to the books that I've chosen just in December, yeah, it's probably not going to work for me. I'd rather have a plethora of books spread out onto the summer TBR table, and I will just pick and choose as I go along. And really, this is how I've always chosen my books, but I don't know, this past couple of months, because of this booktube thing, I thought, oh, I'll try a few different things, but I'm just going back to what works for me and staying true to myself as a reader, and I am just really excited to share my books with you all. I thought I'd do this video outside since it's summer TBR. It is the second day of summer here in Australia at the moment, but I forgot that I live in Melbourne, and in Melbourne the weather is very up and down. You could be in singlets and shorts at lunchtime, and then come dinner time you'll need to put a jacket, ski jacket on, because it's like drops like 25 degrees. So I'm a little bit cold, so I might try to like pace it up just to warm myself up. And also I have a lot of books to get through, so let's get into it. Now I have divided these books into sections: fantasy, sci-fi, classics, Aussie reads, rereads, and other miscellaneous reads, which includes contemporary, literary, historical romance, etc. All right, so let's have a look at my fantasy sci-fi reads first. I'm just going to look at my notes because I have many books and I keep forgetting what's on my list. All right, so the first book that I am so excited to read, I have been counting down the days. It is Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb, which is the second book of the Farseer trilogy. I read Assassin's Apprentice just recently, and I did a separate review. You can see the link below. It was an absolute gush review. I loved it so much. I'm just super excited to get back into that world again and follow Fitz's journey. Oh, beautiful Fitz. Yeah, super pumped. The next fantasy read that I'm very excited about is, and it was quite a random find. So basically in November, I had a rubbish reading month. And then literally in like the last 5 days of November, I picked up Northanger Abbey and absolutely loved it. It was the last of the Austen books that I hadn't read. And it's actually one of my favorites now. It was brilliant. And so that kind of got my mojo back a bit. After I finished Northanger Abbey, I just thought, I just want to read a book where it has the same Jane Austen feel, perhaps set in the Regency period, but has an element of fantasy and magic. Is that so much to ask? Is there a book out there that exists that is like this? And so I just went onto Google and typed in something like Regency novel with fantasy, or fantasy novel set in the Regency period or something, and this was one of the books that popped up and caught my eye. And it is Sorcerer To The Crown by Zen Cho. It basically is set in like an alternative London in the Regency period, but it has like wizards and magic ministry, and there's an orphan wizard that's the protagonist. So yeah, like all those elements got me really excited. And then I read like the first page of this book, and I don't know, it was just like electricity. I just knew, I knew that this book was going to get me out of my reading funk. And you know, like this is probably rare for a booktuber, but I can take or leave physical books. Like I'm happy to just read the book when it becomes available at the library, or happy to just download it on the Kindle or an ebook, whatever I can find. So I'm not really a collector of physical books, but yeah, my God, look at this book though. How beautiful is it? That's gorgeous. So very excited about this one. All right, moving on. Oh man, this is gonna be a really long video. I need to pace it up. Okay, Stone Sky, third and final book of N.K. Jemisin's The Broken Earth trilogy. I read 5th season 3 years ago, my very first fantasy read. changed my reading life. I read the second book, The Obelisk Gate, about a month ago and loved it as well. Different reading experience, but loved it. And December, I will definitely be reading The Stone Sky. I am really, really excited. I feel like I needed breaks between each book though, because it is quite intense. It's apocalyptic. It's really kind of intense characters. It's also the writing, like I absolutely love N.K. Jemisin's style, but you kind of have to just kind of prepare for it a bit. So I've had a bit of a break. I'm looking forward to getting back into it and concluding the story. I have a lot of thoughts, so I will definitely do a separate review video of the Broken Earth trilogy sometime in the future. Next book, Jade City. There's a bit of hype around this, and so I just stopped watching reviews and things on this book, because the minute a book gets really hyped, I get kind of put off a bit. But I really, really want to read this one. I haven't read a lot of fantasy books that has Asian representation. This is kind of like an alternate Hong Kong setting, and there's, you know, fantasy magic elements. It's kind of like a family gang saga, I think. Yeah, I'm getting vibes of, like, you know, Chinese fantasy version of the Jets and Sharks in West Side Story or something. Actually, if it isn't that and there's no like rumble or, you know, fight ballet or something, I'm going to be pretty disappointed. I've heard that it is quite character driven and it's a bit of a slow burn, which I'm not minding. Like, I'm liking the sound of that. I don't really want too much of a action-packed, plot-driven kind of story. I want to get invested in the characters. So yeah, excited about this one. Okay, I'm moving on to my sci-fi books. I don't read a lot of sci-fi. I keep picking the wrong books, I think, that are just like super popular and just plot driven, or the premise is really cool, and then once I get over the premise, I'm like, yeah, I'd love to get some recommendations actually. But what I do need to do is finish off the Passage trilogy by Justin Cronin. So I've read The Passage, the first book, and I need to move on to The 12, which is the second book. I've been avoiding it. I read The Passage a couple of years ago now and loved it, and then recommended it to my husband, and then he just read the first one and then read the second and the third, and so he just like devoured it. I don't know why I had a break, but then 2020 hit and I've just been deliberately avoiding anything to do with dystopic worlds, you know, pandemics, and, you know, for obvious reasons. So I have avoided this book, but now, you know, we're kind of getting over the real crisis of COVID 2020 here in Victoria, so I feel like my mind might be ready to kind of jump into a saga like this. And really, at the end of the day, the Passage trilogy, you know, they're basically about man-made, experiment gone bad vampires. So, you know, there is definitely a suspension of belief there, so I really just should chill and just read it. So I'm going to read The 12. All right. And then the last sci-fi book, and I'm really excited about this one. I've never read Douglas Adams, so I need to read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I will definitely be listening to the audiobook because it is narrated by Stephen Fry, and I absolutely loved his narration of the Harry Potter series, so excited about that. Okay, now let's move on to my classics. So the first one that I'm super excited and a little bit nervous to be reading is Shirley by Charlotte Bronte. If you have been watching my videos, you know that Jane Eyre is my favorite book of all time. In spite of that, or because of that, I haven't read any other Charlotte Bronte books. I'm just really nervous that I'm not going to love them. I don't need to love them as much as Jane Eyre, but I do want to love them. But I have heard, you know, through reviews, booktubers, that this might be a good next step after Jane Eyre. And some booktubers have even claimed that Shirley has now surpassed Jane Eyre for them. I don't see that happening for me, but it's kind of comforting to know that. Wish me luck for this one. Hopefully I like it. Okay, next one on my classics, Far From the Madding Crowd. Have never read Thomas Hardy. Have really wanted to. I don't know why I haven't. And the main reason I want to read this is because I just really want to watch the movie, like the BBC adaptation of it. I tend to read the book before I watch an adaptation, particularly for the classics. So yeah, I'll be reading that one soon. Next one. What am I? Oh, yes. I'm halfway through David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, and I am enjoying it, particularly because I'm listening to the audiobook, which is narrated by Richard Armitage. He just makes it so much better. I'm not quite sure if I would have enjoyed it as much if I was just reading the physical book. There are a few kind of issues with this book for me, but generally I'm really loving the characters. They're very quirky, very vivid, and I always just love jumping into the Victorian era. But maybe David Copperfield was the wrong first Dickens for me to read. I haven't read a Dickens before, and so I think once I finish David Copperfield, I'm probably going to move on to something like Great Expectations, which I know I'll probably love. But yeah, I'll finish David Copperfield. Also halfway through Middlemarch. This one is a slow burn for me. I've been reading it for a long time, but I don't mind that. And for some reason, I can kind of leave it for a bit, have a break, and then come back to it and pick it up again. And I'm back into that world and I remember everything for some reason. It's just really exquisitely written and kind of intelligent, subtle, real, poignant, and sometimes quite funny portrayal of provincial life. This one I'm also listening to on audiobook, narrated by Juliet Stevenson, and so it's just absolutely marvelous. I'll be finishing that one off. What's the other one that I'm doing? Oh yes, a modern classic, Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. I've been wanting to read this one for a very long time, but was willing to wait until it came in at the library. I'm in the mood for a book like this, kind of nostalgic. It's about regret and reflection. So yeah, excited about that one. I'm just gonna get my tea. Oh my God, it is freezing out here. This was a bad idea. Oh, the things I do for BookTube. All right, moving on to Aussie reads. Okay, this first one is a much anticipated read for me. It's called The Yield by Tara June Winch. Tara June Winch is an Indigenous author. This book won the 2020 Miles Franklin Award. It's a literary award here in Australia. So the story is a family clan saga of the Wiradjuri people, a group of Aboriginal First People of this land who lived scattered in the central New South Wales area. I will most probably listen to the audiobook narration because it is narrated by a brilliant Australian theatre actor named Tony Briggs. He is of Indigenous background and he has been given permission by the clans to narrate this book. Honestly, if you can get hold of the audiobook, please do, because the way Tony narrates this, his voice, just his embodiment of the words, the story, it will give you goosebumps, honestly. So yeah, I'm pumped to read this one. The next Aussie read is called The Drover's Wife by Leah Purcell. Leah Purcell is a very iconic, famous Australian actress here. She is of Indigenous background and she has been in many films, many TV shows, including Wentworth, which I was in with her in season 6. We had a lot of scenes together, so we got to work together. Yeah, so she is brilliantly talented actress, writer, screenwriter, playwright, and she, I think it was a couple of years ago, wrote the play version of The Drover's Wife, and it was produced and performed here in Australia and won many theatre awards. This is the literary fiction book version of that play, but it is also originally a famous ballad written by Henry Lawson, and it has been reimagined by Leah Purcell and has beautifully incorporated a lot of Indigenous elements to the story. So yeah, I am really looking forward to reading this one. What am I reading next? Oh yes, I need to roll over an Aussie read that I didn't get up to a couple of months ago, and that is Force of Nature by Jane Harper. Her first book, The Dry, has become very famous. There's a movie coming out with Eric Bana. She's just wonderful. So I'm looking forward to Force of Nature. I just didn't get round to it a couple of months ago, so we'll definitely read that one. And I think just to finish it off, to cleanse my palate for just something lighthearted, I'm going to read, yes, hello car. I'm going to read Playing the Field by Zoe Foster Blake. Zoe Foster Blake is the wife of Hamish Blake, who is a very famous Australian comedian, and I think he's famous around the world. I don't know. Or should I say Hamish Blake is Zoe Foster Blake's husband, and Zoe Foster Blake is an amazing writer, entrepreneur, businesswoman, and she's so funny. She's just as funny as Hamish. This book is about wags, which is, you know, wives and girlfriends of, you know, sports people like footballers and stuff. And because this one's set in Melbourne, Victoria, it's about the wags of, you know, AFL, of Aussie rules. So I know it's going to be witty. I know it's going to be super funny. I know it's going to be a light, easy read. So this will be a good one to kind of lighten up the load for my TBR. Moving on to rereads. I am so excited about this. So my rereads is going to be Jane Eyre. So this will be my 4th time reading it if I include the audiobook narration. This is the first time that I've read it since I started BookTube and since I've been consciously meta reading, I guess. So it'll be interesting to see what I think about Jane Eyre and all the new things that pop up for me, because there's always new things that pop up. Just things that you never really thought about realizing. It's like, oh my God, how did I not even see that last time? So yeah, I'm really excited to read Jane Eyre. The next reread will be The Kingkiller Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss. I read this a few months ago now. I did a bit of a review on it, and it was part of a new favorites review. So I will provide the link below. Loved it, and it is actually one of my favorite reads now. I know it's not finished, I get it, but honestly, Rothfuss, he's just a genius in my eyes, and just every element that I want in a bloody brilliant fantasy epic saga is in this. I'm sure I've missed out on so many things, particularly, you know, the lore and history and the magic systems and things like that. So I'm really eager to get back into it and just learn a bit more. And then this reread will be just throughout 2021, and it is the Harry Potter series. To be honest with you, it is like one of my favorite series, but it's been years since I've read it, and I honestly think I've only read it maybe 1 3/4 times, if that's possible. I am also, for my birthday, getting a beautiful edition of all the books, so yeah, it's good reason to. Do I have anything more left? Yes, I do. It's my miscellaneous other books. I don't know, it's just, I feel like I'm doing like a speech in high school, and you know, you're like nervous and like you see like the paper like shaking and stuff. I am actually shaking, but just because I'm bloody freezing. Okay, so in November I read, or well, attempted to read Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. I got through about 70% and I DNF'd. It's disappointing, but yeah, I just wasn't enjoying the writing. I appreciated the content and the historical elements. It's close to my heart, obviously, because it is of the Korean heritage, but I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. So rather than just going, that was just disappointing, and just putting so much disappointment and pressure on this one book, I thought, look, it's up to me. It's my responsibility to get out there now and search for books that will redeem my experience, you know, and not just like mope around and go, oh, there's not enough diverse books that are good. You know, no, enough with the excuses. I need to branch out and look for them. So I did find a couple that I'm very excited about. The first one is Your House Will Pay by Steph Cha. This was recommended on one of Chris Bookish Cauldron's video. He said it's one of his favorite reads of this year, so that's a very high recommendation. I don't know much about it, to be honest with you. I think it's set in LA, and it's to do with the racial tension between Black Americans and the Korean community. It's a thriller, contemporary, and it's quite a small read, I think, and it's quite fast paced. Looking forward to that one. Okay, the next book on my TBR is Please Look After Mother by Kyung-suk Shin. This is translated from Korean. I don't know much about it, but from what I know, it's about a mother with dementia and she goes missing, and it's the search for her. I'm looking forward to reading a novel that's been translated from Korean. I haven't done that yet. The next book on my TBR is Bear Town by Frederick Backman. I read A Man Called Uva not long ago and absolutely loved it. Gave me the warm and fuzzies, but you know, really dealt with a lot of thought-provoking issues as well. So yeah, it was an all-round just fantastic heartfelt read, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to delving into Bear Town. Don't know much. I think it's set in a small town. that's like obsessed with hockey. I probably should have done a bit of research really just to even just summarize it for this, but I didn't. But I am looking forward to it because it's Frederick Backman. Okay. The next book I am delightfully excited to read. It is Georgette Heyer. I have two in mind, so I've got Venetia and Frederica. They are historical romance novels set in the Regency period. It's not a retell of Jane Austen, it's not trying to be Jane Austen, but it is set in the Regency period, which I love reading about. And you know, I have heard that maybe a lot of the commentary and issues that Austen was kind of hinting at with her clever use of words, because Georgette Heyer wrote later on, so she was in the period of 1900 to like 1970, I think that was her lifespan. I think she had a little bit more freedom and confidence to make a bit more of bold commentary about you know, just independence of women and society at that time. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to finally delving into a bit of Heyer. And the last book is also another rollover from a previous month. I didn't get around to it and I'm disappointed because it is one of my favorite cozy reads. It is a mystery series by Louise Penny. It is the Inspector Gamache series. I think I'm up to the third book, so Cruelest Month. And it is set in like a small village in Canada. The setting is just stunning and yeah, just really cozy, great mystery read. I'm really looking forward to getting back into the Three Pines world. Yeah, and I think that's it. Oh no, I forgot one. I'm gonna give Nora Roberts a go. The Obsession. Never read Nora Roberts. I borrowed this for my mother-in-law and gave it to her and she said she loved it and she returned it back to me and she said, you need to read this, it was really good. I don't know much about it. Thriller, mystery. It's Nora Roberts, so it'll be pretty reliable, I imagine. Got that one in there as well. Okay, that's it. I did it. They were all my books. So I will be getting round to these books in the month of December, January and February. Once I finish some of these books, I will do little wrap-ups and reviews. I think that's how I'm going to operate for the next 3 months because honestly, it is busy season as it is for everyone. And you know, this is the first time this year that my family have been able to go away. So we are going to go away, we are going to have a break, we're going to enjoy rest. So I don't really know how much time I'm going to have to do these booktube videos as much as I absolutely love them. But if I read a book and I just have so many feels about it, I will definitely be reviewing it. If I don't see you until next year, Merry Christmas, have a happy new year, and I just want to say we are all, and I'm talking about just everyone, humanity, you know, yeah, we are all bloody resilient, and I think we've really learnt that this year, and thank God for the world and characters and lessons that we had in books, that we could rely on books during this time. Yeah, so why am I talking like this is like a goodbye or something? I'm pretty sure I'm going to do another video or something, but one of the few positives of 2020 this year has been starting this booktube channel and meeting wonderful community out there. So I'm really looking forward to continuing this journey. So yeah, thank you for watching and please subscribe if you feel compelled to. And yeah, I will see you next time. Bye. Sun and Mood Reads.